Hey there, sheepdoggers, and welcome to another Blood Bowl video. I'm doing two videos today. Oh, goddamn, pardon me. I'm doing two videos today. I am doing a Wood Elf tips and hints type thing, and I'm doing a Lizard Man tips and hints type thing. Now, I'm going to do the Wood Elf one first. Well, obviously, you know that because it will be in the title. I don't think it's going to be that long. Because I've done two elf videos before, I don't massively do wood elves or high elves, so the tips are pretty much the same. I'll give you your lineup. I'll have a quicker look at the game. You know, I put it out yesterday, the wood elf game, so most of you probably be uninterested to see it anyway. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, no, I wanna dedicate the same, in a way, like the same amount of time to all of my my videos, you know, my tip videos, you know. So I take as much time making a video on high elves as I do on wood elves as I do with, you know, all the other teams. But at the end of the day, the wood elves are very similar to the high elves. You know, it's mostly about the lineup, really, that's different, and yeah, the fact that they have 7 armor value instead of 8. So yeah, so the important thing to say about the wood elves is ward answers. I messed it up in my first wood elf game, but ward answers, get ward answers, ward answers, ward answers, ward answers. They also do have a tree man. Now, tree men aren't terrible, technically speaking. You know, they're strength 6, low movement, which is you know, it's in exact opposite to all the rest of the wood elves. You know, 10 armor value, agility 1, strength 6. They're very strong. They can throw a teammate. Unfortunately, you know, they don't have any teammates to throw in with this team. Strong arm, you know, again, stand firm, mighty blow. But this is the real problem. Immediately after declaring an action with this player, roll a d6. On a 2 or more, the player may take his action as normal. On a 1, the player takes root, and his movement allowance is considered 0 until a drive ends, or he is knocked down or placed prone. What that means is until you score a touchdown, the enemy scores a touchdown, or it's halftime, he cannot move on a roll of 1. This makes him, at the same time, really useful and really, really, really fucking unuseful. Like, if you roll a 1 on your first action, you know, like you smack some dude, you throw a block on the line, and then he takes root after that, then he's literally just a useless player. People can run around him and all that kind of thing. You know, he can't start moving again until someone scores a touchdown. Now, it's not terrible with the wood elves. You know, honestly, it's not that terrible with the wood elves because they're such a scoring team that it's understandable to have this guy. You know, he can't move much, but he's good and he's bashy, and you know, he's very hard to knock down, and he's very hard to to do anything to. Like, his armor value's 10. You know, maybe someone with claw could give it a shot, but claw, mighty blow, or something. But still, you're not likely to bash this guy about. However, I would never advise you to start with him ever. Like that, losing. You know, elves already are fairly prone to injury and being down a lot of people. You don't want to be, you know, screwing yourself over with this early. And also, he really can't move much. You know, he's expensive. It's better to go get the ward answers, get the everything else, and focus on your scoring game, make money, and later on, you can consider a treatment. So yeah, the ward answers, most important part of a wood elf team. They have block, dodge, and leap. They are massively useful, and they will be who your enemy is always going to be trying to deal with. You know, the block and dodge make them really, really survivable. Great ball carriers, and in fact, you'll probably be wanting to go something like 2 rerolls. Can I make it? No, we're a little bit off. Okay, so possible you could go 1 reroll, but they would be more expensive. Huh. As I said, I haven't really got the layout down for this yet. So I did not mean to do that. Shit. So yeah, but we could possibly go 1 reroll. How much do we have left? 100,000. Okay, so so another lineman, like so, and then if we take a reroll off, I mean the reroll in the apothecary is the same, but you want the apothecary in my opinion. Did not mean to do that. And you can get another lineman and have 10,000 left. So yeah, that's a possibility. War dancer, thrower, and then all linemans, 1 reroll and an apothecary. I'd say you do want that apothecary in the first match. You know, you don't want to be losing your you don't want to be losing your war dancers at all. And technically, you don't want to be losing your players if you can avoid it. You know, like I'd say that's decent. Let's just have a quick look, because as I said, you know, I'm not a wood elf player. I'm not used. You know, with all the others, I have an idea of what should be wanted. So let's just have a quick look and see. You know, you can always search, you know, like Wood Elf Blood Bowl lineup, Wood Elf Blood Bowl tactics, that kind of thing, and you can see. So here you go, like 2 rerolls, 2 war dancers, 9 linemen is a suggested one, or 2 rerolls, 1 treeman, 1 war dancer, 1 lineman. Okay, so if we take away the thrower, sell, can we get another lineman? Yeah. Okay, we can get another lineman, but we still don't have enough for an apothecary. I feel like the apothecary would be better than the reroll. No, you know what? Yeah. So if you, okay, so let's say what I'm going to recommend is caution to the wind. Roll that 2 rerolls. You know, because the rerolls get doubly expensive. Cancel that and go with the thrower. Now, the reason I'm going to say that is because a thrower is useful, in my opinion. Okay, so yeah, I think your thrower is useful, definitely useful, and you've got the 2 war dancers. You've got some linemen. You know, they can be used as catchers. Now, the great thing about the catcher, obviously, dodge, sprint, catch. Like, you know, that's a good start. And you can start, when you start leveling up, you've already got those things there. So, you know, for example, for the war dancer, you probably don't want to take those things because you've already got block, dodge, leap. You know, you might want to make them more bashy, more survivable, whatever. Whereas with the catcher, you've already got catch, dodge, and sprint. You know, that's a good start right there. And I think your first purchase after an apothecary should be a catcher, because they got the movement 8, they've got the sprint already. You know, you can give them sure feet, and then you've got a really, really dangerous, team. But this is what I'd suggest. You know, it's not going to be nice going into a game with no apothecary. You know, to save your war dancers and etc. But I feel like it's probably the best choice. You know, and we'll have a quick looky-loo at the match I played with the Wood Elves, just kind of getting used to them. I did mess up. I got 3 rerolls and an apothecary. I got 1 war dancer, and the rest I got, you know, thrower and all linemen. Not terrible. You know, you could possibly do that if you want. I'm not sure I'd advise it. You know, I got kind of lucky with the team I was facing. If I was facing a more bashy team, you know, it wouldn't have been 4-0. But yeah, I'd say in general, it's going to be up to you. You're going to be wanting to do the same kind of things, and if you don't have the same kind of things as High Elves especially, and to a certain extent Dark Elves, you know, if you don't have a catcher, then you're kind of, it's tempting to put your war dancers in there get them some early levels, make them a bit better, and just see, just see where they go. Here you see my Wood Elf team. I made a little bit of a mistake with them, but that's fine. And also we have the Bastone Dragon Slayers with Serengeti, who's probably annoyed that I've shown this match twice, because it was 4-0, and I seem to remember he was a little bit unlucky, but also, well, it's rough losing 4-0, but again, Wood Elves, if you don't manage to get the injuries in, then they're just gonna be ridiculous. So let's oh, I paused it. Let's move forward a little bit. Okay, so here we go. Elf team. He's got a good defense there. To get an extra reroll. So yeah, you can see he's got a good defense there against elves. You want to discourage them from getting deep. Of course, they will get deep anyway, because that is how Wood Elves are. But, what are you going to do? And of course, these guys are always, they have the same... If you consider that the Wood Elves have the same armor value as the Skaven, and also as these guys here, it gives you an idea of how difficult it can be to Wood Elf. You will be getting those injuries. My god, they're so annoying. And now you see I've got the ability, I guess, basically, to just put myself in there and just go like, hey, here I am. I'm going to be throwing and I'm going to be catching, and you've got to stop me. I've got 3 rerolls. Yeah, and again, like you're never too worried about picking up the ball and stuff. You've got agility 4. You can pretty much deal with that stuff. And yeah, this is what you do as Wood Elves. You put people in the end zone, out of tackle zones, so that they cannot get both of you. They can mark both of you. They can make it as difficult as they can for both of you. But at the end of the day, if you've got a reroll, if you've got a reroll, if you've got a decent chance, you can score in a couple of turns with Wood Elves. Not guaranteed, but safe enough. And that's always going to be the point, is getting that touchdown and then trying to get that turnover. Doing elfish nonsense. And you see, like the only kind of danger I have here is this guy here. If I pass to this guy, he could intercept it. But then again, after you've leveled up this guy a little bit, he can do safe throw. And of course, even though you're Wood Elf, never neglect an opportunity to beat down on an opponent, especially a lower armor value opponent. You might take a couple of them out, like for example, Fat Patrick. Bye-bye, Fat Patrick. Yeah, as I said, you might take a couple of them out. It might be worth it. So there's no reason not to. So you can see me here, like I'm blitzing. Obviously, I've made that move, so if I end the turn and pass to him, he can't move after that. So I have a choice. My choice is, where do I go? Well, I move closer. I move more men up into his into his end zone area here. Free, easy. Like I have choices. I keep out the way of, for example, this guy and this guy, so they can't actually easily get to me. You can see, hopefully you can see, oh yeah, and I managed to knock down that guy as well, which is really useful. I also injured him, which was not something I was expecting, but, what are you going to do? Okay, so if we can click on this, come on, show me, there, see, so he can't actually blitz me. He's just out the way, but I've got a decent amount of movement, so I can move and so on and so forth. And you can see the problem with Wood Elves right here. Is like, yes, I've knocked down a couple of his guys. He's knocked down a couple of mine. My war dancer is down, for example. He's blitzing here. But I have a perfect setup for a running game here. You know, I have one guy here that's free, you know, just a simple little dodge. I have two guys here and one guy here. You know, I can kind of pass. I can hand off to this dude, run around here, maybe do a fairly long pass. He is going after my war dancer. As I said, the war dancers are always going to be the target. Especially if you have throwaway characters like linemen, especially if you have a few spare throwaway characters like linemen. You know, that's the kind of thing where it's just like, yep, gonna wreck them. Gonna use them to get rid of those war dancers, because those war dancers are nasty. Just gonna turn the volume down very slightly. There we go. Felt like it was a little bit loud in my ears. Sorry about that if you couldn't hear me properly, guys. I did have a couple of people, and yeah, here you go. Here goes the. Okay, now it's a bit quiet. For God's sake, here's the typical wood elf bullshit. Pass, catch, you know, fail on ones. Fail on ones, so you know it's nothing too worrying. Yeah, you're an ass. Oh, it's the clone cheerleaders. They're always fun. You can see injuries and knockouts and etc. And now let's go to the defensive side of things. So, kind of, you know, it's fairly standard. I like having guys back against teams like Bretonnians as the Wood Elves, because it seems less threatening. Especially having my War Dancer all the way back here. You know, it doesn't seem as threatening. They're more likely to be uncautious with their ball. You know, like when you're a bashy team and if you've knocked about a team or whatever, you know, even if you're not that bashy a team, against the Wood Elves, you know, they're not that dangerous for the most part. Let's just, whoop, there we go, ball bounce backwards, thank God. That's in a really useful position for me, especially if he gets 2 fails. But, you know, he's doing a good job of covering the ball, so yeah, you know, it's, before he even did his blocks, you know, he was already one player around the ball each way. Yeah, he's still got his reroll, but it's always worth being cautious, just in case of that double skull, you know, or quadruple skull, technically. And, you know, there you go, he managed to cage up, and he managed to do that, unfortunately. Okay, so yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show. Yeah, I've shown you the kind of attack side of it. Obviously, you know, there you're like, well, why didn't you reroll? And the answer to that is basically A, I made a mistake. I attacked with the middle when I meant to attack with the side, and B, I'm not actually wanting to attack him quite yet. You know, like, yeah, it would have been nice to get him down and etc. But at the end of the day, you know, it's not as important to smack him, to be beating him down, to be going after his cage right now. What I want to do is this, you know, I want to be getting him in a unfavorable position as much as possible. You know, and this cage here is easily assailable because of the fact that I have one guy here, all of these guys' block zones, tackle zones have been taken up by another player. So it means all I have to do is blitz in here, hit that dude, and the likelihood is that I can get a decent, you know, I can get a 1 dice with a reroll, you know, if I want to use the reroll. And at this point, it's kind of like, well, why not use the reroll if it's an option? I don't, because I'm a dum-dum, and also, you know, I figured, like, keep the turn going, maybe knock him down a bit over here, get some, you know, you can see I've got a lot of guys I can bring over if I want. So, you know, you could make an argument either way, but yep, bit of a smackdown. And again, a KO. Yeah, you know, it's down a few people as well. I've got fairly lucky with the armor rolls and so on and so forth. No, none of my guys down. Sometimes that just happens, you know. There's nothing you can really do about it. And again, like Wood Elf, if you've got a slight numerical advantage, it is not a terrible idea to give him a bit of smackdown too. But yeah, as the Wood Elves, it's not a terrible idea to put one guy in their half. You know, maybe, you know, just in case, you know, if you get them down, you get the ball, you can make that throw if you're outnumbered. You know, if you've been bashed down. As well, you know, you have one guy there, you make a block, you make a kind of one dice block on the ball carrier, knock him down, use another elf, pick it up, and then you can just throw it. And even if it misses, which, you know, like Wood Elves have a decent chance, a decent passing game, even if they miss it, you can still blitz and knock him down, not bad. Yeah, even if they miss it, you can still kind of get it up away from you, like up the pitch a little bit, if you can. And again here, you know, he doesn't have the players, and the main problem with the Bretonnians is if you take up their linemen, they don't have that many players who can legitimately dodge. You know, you know, like obviously here he's pulled back. You know, he's only got a few players. That was an unfortunate double skull. You've only got a few players there who can really dodge out and protect this ball carrier. So the problem becomes more... Yeah, there you go. So the problem actually becomes more like, well, how do I get my guys back? How do I get them? And again, there's another injury. As I said, I got lucky. You can't expect a game to go this well for a regular Wood Elf player. And here you see I'm trying to get a 2 dice going on. Get that ball down. It fails. I get double skulls. But I can't complain because of the situation, basically. You know, situation good. So yeah, you know, again, it's with the Wood Elves, it's pretty much get a touchdown and then either let them get a touchdown fairly quickly and try and get another one back before the end of the half, or you know, you'll go on you'll try and go somewhere kind of a bit more. Oh, down he goes. You'll try and go a bit more like, you know, force him into difficult situations, give him a rough time, you know, like just in general, mess him up. And I don't know for why he did not follow that guy, because now I'm close to, you know, that guy's free. You know, I take up this tackle zone, I pull this guy up, also knock this guy back, because, you know, like free up these guys so they don't even have to dodge. Then I've got a 2 dice tackle, and I have one guy free to make a pass and, you know, pick up the ball and make a pass and everything. There you go, knock him down. Honestly, like in that situation, and you know, tips against Blood Elves as well, sure. Honestly, in that situation, he would be better off. Really, well, he'd have been better off just covering his blitzer and holding onto the ball. Also, that was a misclick, just FYI. I do have a reroll, so you know the pass is rerollable, the catch is rerollable. This guy has going for it, and I've still got the reroll, so I could go for it. I decided to hold off a turn, I believe. Either because okay. So in this position, he's got 2 guys down, 2 guys KO'd. So I'm in an overwhelmingly good position. He can't really get superiority of numbers on him. So in that situation, as the Wood Elves, you know, he's got another turn. I've got another turn. And I'm pretty much safe. Pretty much. You know, not 100%, but... Oh, and there goes a typical Wood Elf day. Get an injury, down he goes. He's not badly hurt, so that's fine. And yeah, they see he could have maybe blitzed this dude, possibly. I'm not 100% sure, but he didn't, and you know, it was all fine. Again, you see the power of the War Dancer with the block dodge. You know, he's very hard to actually put down unless you keep getting double skulls. Get a touchdown, and it means that he only has one turn, and basically maximum 4 blocks on my guys, instead of, you know, 2 turns with possibly his full available roster back. You know, if his KO'd guys get back up. So, you know, always consider that when you're a kind of injury-prone team. You see, like, both of them got up. You know, if you have a chance to score a touchdown or leave it, you may want to leave it that turn, because you're unlikely to get a touchdown in 2 turns. And this way you can actually just, well, you see here, you just have those 3 on the line where he can get a block. And then he has 1 blitz. So, you know. And we got a bribe as well. Unfortunate for me, really, because it means he can, you know, give a good shot at taking out one of my more important players, taking out my War Dancer, basically. So let's just go through this. You can see he knocked me down and smacked me about, and yeah, he didn't actually throw. I did say, you know, during the thing, you know, you want to get that throw in, get that SPP just in case. It's always worth it when you have nothing left to do to make that throw, even on a bashy team, even, you know, even whoever. Because if you're just starting out your team, everyone's on 0 SPP. If you get, so for example, if he made a throw with his blitzer, throw it to another guy, you know, the guy caught it, that's 1 SPP. And if he gets even if you have the shittiest match, if he gets 1 SPP, there you go. It's another kickoff to him. Extra team reroll. He did get quite a few rerolls. He didn't use that many because he didn't have to, interestingly enough. But stop moving. So yeah, if for example this guy got man of the match, then he'd get a level for the next thing. You know, you could get hopefully something useful for your team, and yeah, yeah. So the Bretonians are interesting because against teams like the Wood Elves, they actually stand, in a way, they have less of an advantage because they're not that agility, they're not that bashy. And they can, you know, like if they get lucky, they can get some decent rolls and etc. Some decent injuries and etc. Get some SPP. But because of the Dauntless and block and etc. on these guys, they actually can do better against bashy teams. Obviously not on the whole injury front, but you know, until the Bretonians get a few levels up, get some, you know, kind of more damaging stuff like Mighty Blow, you know, if they can, then yeah, they can be a little bit underwhelming against teams like the Wood Elves. It's a bad first matchup for Serengeti, I feel. But yeah, you know, okay, so again, like I'm gonna skip forward a little bit. I'm not gonna do the whole hog, you know, take you through step by step as I have done before, because this is another elf team, and you can see my tactics. You know, I kind of force him into the side. I start pushing into his, and he starts having to make really bad rolls. You know, I knocked someone out. He's still got 2 injuries, so he's still down. I have a numerical superiority. You know, a couple, but it's still useful. And then, you know, I think that's the ball there. I knocked down his ball carrier there. And then all you have to do is make a little bit of a hole, dodge people through, pick up the ball, you know, start making passes and stuff, and you're pretty much good. It's just one of those things. And obviously, you see, this is the dude. He's free now, not in a tackle zone. Pick up the ball, make a run for it. And, you know, he's got his tackle zones taken up. He doesn't have that much he can do. He gets double skulls again. Although, to be fair, I did get double skulls too. And there you go, there's a touchdown there. And then, you know, obviously the danger with the Wood Elves is if you get unlucky with the injuries, but you're still getting touchdowns, every time you make that touchdown, he has another chance to bash your front line. And the more players you lose, the more likely it is you're going to have to put your more important players on that touchdown line, on that line of scrimmage, and they're going to get a bit destroyed. So that's the danger with agility scoring teams. Is, you know, I'm 3-0 up. He's got a couple of injuries. I've got an injury. You know, it could have, with different roles, with different injury roles, it could very well have gone a much different way. You know, to the point where I have like 5 or 6 people injured, and that's just how it could have been. Luckily for me, it wasn't. You know, and at this point, you know, he's not gonna win. He's not gonna get, well, he's not gonna get 4 touchdowns in 4 turns. You know, he's probably not even going to get 2 touchdowns in 4 turns. But, you know, yeah. There's still a possibility of damage to my team through basically kicking the crap out of my team, I guess. You know, just getting injuries and stuff, you know, a little bit of a consolation prize for him. And just beating us up a little bit to make himself feel better, which, you know, is a very valid strategy / tactic. So let's push forward a little bit. You can see he pulled guys off the front, and then he's blitzing. Let's finish this here. There you go. So he's got a little bit of a screen. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that, again, is not that effective against Wood Elves or Elves in general. You know, you need that cage, otherwise they will 1 dice block you. And, you know, with a reroll, that's fine. Get that 1 dice in, you know. Perfectly able to be bashy, like, just clear this guy out the way. Clear this guy out the way. Oh, that was right. I started juggling him back and forth, trying to knock him down. There you go. Smack. Very graceful, very live, very blah blah blah. And you can see, like, I decided not to blitz it because I had to make, you know, a few too many rolls in that, but at the same time, you know, I'm just moving them back this way so that they're out of the way. You know, keep the superiority, numerical superiority going on. Now I've got these guys here kind of more free and able. And yeah. Give them a bit of a bash in. It's, is that his go? Or? Oh no, it's my go again, sorry. So yeah, he's had his go. Didn't get very lucky, as I remember. Not too important. And then obviously try and get that 2 dice in. So take up the tackle zones. Blitz with my blocker because obviously his ball carrier has block. Well, blitz with my war dancer who has block. Basically arrow / missile. And then, you know, elf. Got a dude there, got a dude there. You know, it's the outcome's fairly, it's not guaranteed, but it's pretty much like, yep, run, pass, you know, assist with block. You know, this is the terrible thing about the Wood Elf team is everyone can pass, everyone can score, everyone can dodge. You know, like, so very literally everyone is a potential threat to the ball. So, you know, I can just dodge out. You know, I need a +1 for that. Pick up the ball, make a short pass. Now, you know, he's in a bad position there, and there's not much he can do to stop me scoring on the last turn. I still have a reroll left. I don't have a going for it to do, so. And you know, like as an elf team, as a non-bashy team, you have very little guarantee of a touchdown of injury. You know, like a much less guarantee of injury, even if you do have more people. So at the end of the day, the best thing to do is be like, well, I could throw blocks and stuff, but there's always the chance of like multiple skulls or whatever. So the better thing to do is just get the touchdown. And there he goes. 4-0. And that's what elves can do in general, and yeah, what elves can do. They're not really a team I'd personally choose to go with, but they're very very viable. Like, you know, even more so than the dark elves and the high elves. People hate the wood elves because they're such a scoring team, and because their war dancers are quite so ridiculous. But there you go, guys. You know, I'm not gonna try and draw it out. I've managed to take it to 35 minutes or so. The wood elves, you know, again, they're like the other elves. I hope I've given you a few ideas and so forth. But I feel like I've been a bit less helpful in this one, just purely because I'm not as up on it with the wood elves, and also because I've done 2 elf teams already, and these ones are very much the same. You know, like, you're going to be wanting to take the same skills and all that kind of thing. So yeah, there you go, guys. You know, it's the wood elves. I hope this at least gave you a little bit of good ideas and so on and so forth. Again, don't do treatment until later, if at all. If at all. So I hope this video helped you. The Lizard Men video is also going to be out tonight. And that will be all of them until there are DLC races. I've done tips on all of them. I may do kind of specialized videos talking about some very specific things and skills and etc. for different teams. But for the most part, that's the end of the starting lineup. The tips and tricks, kind of tactics videos for beginning players. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.